Hey folks, it's going to be a short one this week as, depending on when this goes up, I'm probably on vacation. In a recent video, I mentioned that I'm a practitioner of Espiritismo, a practice that combines elements of folk Catholicism with a belief in reincarnation. But wait, you might be thinking, isn't reincarnation incompatible with Christianity? Well, not really, especially if you have a proper understanding of the Hebrew view of the afterlife, or how reincarnation works in dharmic systems. We'll start with the verse that's usually used to justify the rejection of reincarnation among Christians, Hebrews chapter 9, verses 27 and 28.
And as it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this to judgment, so Christ was offered to bear the sins of many, and unto them that look for him shall he appear the second time without sin unto salvation.
But this chapter has nothing to do with the afterlife. Contextually, this chapter is concerned with the nature of Christ's sacrifice, and is a major point of contention between Catholic and Protestant understanding of the Eucharist. But that's a story for another time. Back to this point, I couldn't find any scholarship that supported this reading, but to me, these verses seem to recall Romans 6. The death is the wages of sin and all, especially Romans 6:10.
For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he liveth and liveth unto God.
I read Hebrews 9:27 as saying, one death for sin, one death for salvation, and it isn't really a meaningful counter-argument to reincarnation existing within a Christian framework. We need to look at the biblical view of the person, the man appointed once to die. In both the Old and the New Testaments, the human person is composed of three parts: the body, the soul, known in Hebrew as nephesh, or psyche in Greek, and the spirit, which in Hebrew is ruach, and in Greek is pneuma, respectively. We can use the Greek and Hebrew words, looking through Strong's Concordance, to trace the meanings of these words. Here are some relevant verses.
Genesis 2:7. Then the Lord God formed the man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. Then man became a living being, nephesh. Job 12:10. In his hands is the life, nephesh, of every creature, and the spirit, ruach, of all mankind. Ecclesiastes 12:7. And the dust returns to the ground whence it came, and the spirit, ruach, returns to God who gave it. Psalms 16:10. For you will not abandon my soul, nephesh, in Sheol, nor will you allow your Holy One to see corruption.
So according to the Bible, God breathes the spirit into the body, creating the soul, and when the body dies, the spirit returns to God and the soul goes to Sheol. Now let's think about this. God breathes out, and then the breath returns to God. So what happens next? So the Bible heavily implies the spirits of the dead return to the one breath and is then re-breathed out into new life. So the spirit in me will be in another body in the future. To be clear, this is reincarnation of the spirit, not of the soul, which is consistent with several dharmic interpretations wherein only the Atman is reincarnated, not the subtle body, which is analogous to the nephesh in this case. Importantly, there is a long-standing Jewish tradition of a belief in reincarnation, particularly among the Jewish wisdom tradition, which draws heavily from, among other texts, Job, Ecclesiastes, and Psalms. These themes continue into the New Testament, Luke 23:46.
And when Jesus had cried out in a loud voice, he said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Having said this, he breathed his last. Matthew 10:28. And fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul, psyche, and the body in Gehenna.
Note that pneuma is not destroyed in the fires of Gehenna, but that involves a conversation about why infernalism is wrong, which is a conversation for another time. So let's wrap this up for now. Thanks. Bye, folks.